Hi Natalia, welcome
Hi.
to the Franchise Marketing Show.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us. Normally I have to twist people's arms.
Yeah, hey, no, I'm happy to be here.
So for anyone who doesn't know who you are and what it is that you do, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, please?
Sure. So my name is Natalia and I'm a franchise lawyer. So I provide legal advice and assist franchisors or franchisees to navigate the world of franchising, business growth, business exits. So yeah, anything to do with franchising.
Okay, how did you get into franchise law? Because that's quite niche, isn't it?
It is. I mean, to be honest with you, I probably think it applies to majority of us in franchising. It was a complete accident, in a sense that, I mean, I'm going to show my age here. Like when I was going through my studies, franchising is not something that was on the syllabus or was talked about. So, I did the usual, as training to become a lawyer, I did the usual stuff. So, you have compulsory subjects, etc., etc. But my interest has always been in business law. So I specifically always really enjoyed competition law, trade law, intellectual property. So I was really fascinated with those. And so really, I really thought I wanted to end up either doing competition law or employment. That was sort of my fallback. And then I ended up getting a job at Hamilton Pratt, which is obviously a franchise, a specialist franchise law firm. And to be honest, I started as a secretary, so I very much worked my way up. So I started, coming in. I had no knowledge of franchising. And it was amazing. I got so much exposure, and within a matter, I obviously trained and qualified, and I was so lucky because I got to work with so many different brands, so many different franchisors, brand new franchisors coming to the market, medium-sized, huge, large ones. And so you get a massive variety of work. And when you're a young lawyer, you sort of end up with things that nobody else wants to do, like data protection, consumer law. It's like, oh, that's a bit boring. But, again, as a young lawyer, when that falls on your desk, I sort of just ran with it. And I made it my job to go out and find and learn and apply. And so now when my clients come to me and they sort of go, oh, data protection, I'm able to sort of hold their hand through it and say, don't worry, this is what we need to do, etc., etc. So it's worked.
Yeah, it sounds like it. If we go back a few years, what was it specifically about the law profession that you wanted to go into that?
Sorry, what was specifically about law?
So why did you choose law? Was it like a childhood dream? Is it something that
No. Because my daddy said so.
Okay.
No, I genuinely, honestly, I've always wanted to be a teacher.
Okay.
That's what I wanted to do.
Oh, okay.
So I wanted to teach, and specifically I wanted to teach maths. I was very passionate about maths.
Okay.
And I think for me, I guess, sort of the parallel is I found certain things quite straightforward and easy.
Yeah.
And I saw that other people struggled with it. Yeah. And I wanted to help people and to make them realize that it's not as difficult as it seems. I'll be honest with you, I didn't have a choice about law. So I wasn't born in the UK, I was born in Russia. So I came over here, and there were various sort of restraints on what I could and couldn't do. And my father wanted me to become a lawyer, and it happened that I quite enjoyed it. So I sort of ended up pursuing the legal route to become a lawyer. And but I suppose my core passion has always been there in terms of just helping others.
Yeah.
And that's what I enjoy about my job, is to be able to help others with things that they find complex.
Yeah.
So, especially like when people are getting into franchising, it's all new, and it can be quite overwhelming. And when somebody sort of presents you with a franchise agreement, I mean, let's be honest, a lot of people don't read them.
No.
So if you're a prospective franchisee and you're given a document that's 60 pages long, and then you start reading it, and with the best will in the world, some people just find it quite difficult to read because it's quite dry and it's, complex, and sometimes you're like, I don't understand what it says. So and that's why I always, encourage people to go and get some legal advice, get a franchise agreement review, because then, the lawyer will basically translate that into plain English, and they will say, this is what it means, and this is what you need to know. And it's sort of turning complex into simple, and that's how I look at it.
Yeah, that's really good. Being able to take something really complicated and simplifying it for the lay person is really important. In terms of like the franchise journey, at what stage is it that people come to you for that advice? Is it the early on stage, or is it throughout the process?
It very much depends. So I am really lucky to support, like say, franchisors and franchisees at pretty much every stage of their journey. I do a lot of work with franchisees, so both sort of prospective franchisees when, like say, doing franchise agreement reviews and sort of explaining to them what it is that they're getting themselves into. But equally, I do a lot of franchise resales. So again, obviously, either for a buyer or a seller. So I tend to, I tend to act for buyers more often than sellers, but I have a good mix of both. So obviously, with buyers, it's, they're buying an existing business, so they need to be comfortable with, understanding what it is that they're buying and making sure everything is fine. And with sellers, again, it's so nice to be able to be there for someone at the end of their journey to kind of say, you've done this, you've built a nice business, and now you've made a decision to move on and do something else, and actually, let's make it easy for you. Let's make sure that exit is, reflects what you've done. So it's nice to be able to hold their hand through it and kind of go, congrats, you are no longer a business owner.
But also you get to see the reward of their hard work, don't you, at that stage? That's really good. In terms of like the career that you've chosen and the industry that you're a part of, I mean, let's be honest, they're both quite male dominated. How is it for you as a woman to kind of stand out in that?
Wow. You're right. Yes, I would say it was like things are changing, because definitely, like when I first, came to a law B franchising, it was very much, you turn up, and especially as a younger woman, you're like, oh, just all guys, and I don't know anything about golf or rugby or whatever it might be. Like, I don't smoke a cigar. I don't know how to fit in there. So it was a little bit like that, and but I think it is changing, and I think it's just, for me, it's always just been about building relationships, and it's been nice to have other women who help you. So, I mean, I know that there are a number of female lawyers who are more experienced than me, and they are in other law firms, but they have been, they've been very supportive along my journey. I've learned so much from them, and actually that's nice. That's nice to have role models, and that's all that I hope for, is that, to be a role model for those younger lawyers who are maybe looking and going, what is it? How do I get into this? And actually showing that it can be done. And I think franchising is a really special industry, because there is, there's so much variety and there is really interesting work. But I think as an industry, everyone is really supportive, a lot more than in, other industries maybe.
Yeah.
And I mean, who am I to say that, because like I've not been in other industries, but the impression I get, like people are a little bit less sharky and dog eat dog, and I feel like the industry comes together, and if you want to be part of it, then people really support you.
Yeah, that's definitely something that the collaborative element, and there are a number of different events throughout the year for women particularly to kind of support each other, and it's not competitive at all, is it? Which is quite nice. Natalia, you have your own brand. How has that come about?
I think, to be honest, again, it's just probably was quite unintentional, and just came along from sort of building relationships. I think when I first started, as you do, you're young and you don't have the experience. So, I very much sort of was hiding behind the brand of the firm. I was learning, and it was comforting. But actually, I think the one thing I'm very grateful to John for is that he pushed me out there, and kind of when it's time to stand on your own 2 feet, and people need to know who you are. And I think from that moment on, it was about, okay, I need to let people know who I am, and that's when I sort of started using my name more and kind of going, yeah, I'm Natalia, and this is what this is who I am, and this is what I do. But then from that, still it wasn't though like, I'm building a brand. I think for me, it's kind of, I want to help people. This is who I am. This is my experience. And it's about building relationships. And I think when you build relationships, everything else just falls into place. So yeah, for me, it's been kind of being out there, and I wouldn't say I'm particularly great at social media, but I make an effort.
Yeah.
And I don't just do it because I have to do it. I do it because I feel like I want to contribute to a conversation, or I've got something to say, or actually I've learned something and I want to share that. And I feel like it might be useful to some people. So and it's kind of grown from there.
Yeah, I love it. I do like your brand. I like the colour, the yellow, and the signature that you've got going on, and just like all that kind of thing. I love seeing you as a woman kind of stepping out and being, this is who I am. And not hiding, because a lot of women do tend to hide, don't they? So I like seeing it.
Yeah, well, the yellow sort of came from, I just thought what makes me happy, and I immediately sort of thought about sunshine, because even if it's like, it doesn't matter what the temperature is or what the weather is doing, but as soon as the sun comes out, you always kind of feel, oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
And I just wanted some happiness in my life.
Yeah.
So I thought, introducing brighter colors, because again, like, you're right, it's when you are a lawyer, especially, like, life has been about suits. And black, and everyone is in black, and I'm like, why? And I feel that our generation, maybe we are sort of the first ones to break away from that and sort of go, I'm not, I've done heels for 20 years, but actually now it just doesn't work for me anymore. I'm always on my feet, and actually it's not comfortable. But who says I have to be in heels? Whether or not I'm wearing heels doesn't impact on how well I do my job.
Exactly.
So I'm like,
that's a brilliant point. Well made.
It doesn't matter if I'm wearing a skirt or trousers.
No.
It doesn't affect how I do my job. Actually, more comfortable I feel, I probably will do my job better. So it's about being comfortable, and it's about sort of going, I might not be for everyone, but then I don't want to be for everyone.
Yeah.
And it's about, working with people I want to work with, clients I want to work with. And now I sort of go, I am who I am, and I don't want to change.
Yeah.
And I'm comfortable in my own skin. But for a long time I wasn't. So don't get me wrong, I think there's been a lot of hang-ups from, the society I was brought up in. There's a very different attitude to women and what a woman's role is. And I think it's just breaking those barriers down and going, okay, I am a woman, but I can also do these things. And it's not just, it's not just for men. And girls can do this too.
Yeah, it is flipping that whole thing of, I am a woman, full stop. It doesn't need to be like, but I can do my, do you know what I mean? There is like this whole perception around women, and I see it a lot in terms of women wanting to start a business, but kind of holding back because, and I was speaking to someone about this on a previous podcast, they hold back because they don't think they're good enough, they don't think they got the skills, they don't think they can like find the finances and that kind of thing. What would you say as a woman who has reached that point where you're comfortable in yourself and you like helping others, how would you encourage a woman to find that place within herself where she can be comfortable in her own skin?
I would probably, I think one thing I would say is stop comparing yourself to others, because that's not healthy or helpful. If you really want something, you can make it happen. And also don't be afraid to try again and again. And yes, I mean, surround yourself with people who will help you be the best version of you. I have, amazing support network around me, and days when I feel, low, or I start having an identity crisis, or the voice on my shoulder goes like, "Oh, are you sure? You're really sure about this? Do you think you can do it?" Like, there are numbers in my phone, and I can message them, call them, and I will get the response I need to kind of remind me that I can do this, and it's okay. And actually, I think it's looking. I think it's those times when you are, when you're having that crisis. I mean, for me, maybe because I'm a lawyer, maybe because I've been sort of, I've learned that I'm very evidence-based. So I sort of go, well, what does the evidence show? And the evidence shows that, I've done this before, I can do this again. And actually, it's okay. It's, some moments when I kind of go like, I can't do this.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes we are our own worst enemy.
Yeah,
so I would probably say, like, don't put too much pressure on yourself. Give yourself a break. Because you can't keep going at 100 miles an hour all the time.
Yeah.
And you can't, it's not about doing more and doing better. And, sometimes you need to take a pause and stop and refuel and sort of go like, I'm doing okay.
Yeah.
And then get back to it.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Natalia, I've got 2 more questions for you. In terms of, like, obviously, being a franchise lawyer, there's a lot of work involved in that. Like, I've spoken to a few people. How do you take time out? Like, how do you find rest?
I'm really bad at that. I'm really bad at taking time out, and that's why I started a second business, to take time out.
Second business.
I guess. All right. So for me, it's music and photography, and that's what I enjoy. And I'm really lucky that my other half is very musical. So because I find that obviously, being a lawyer, that's very brain intensive.
Yeah.
So sometimes when you've been, working all day and it's been intensive, you're sort of like, I feel like my brain is going to melt.
Yeah.
So then changing and doing something completely different, like music or photography, it just helps me to switch my brain off, and I'm doing something different. And again, that's been quite helpful, especially sort of music. And the other thing I do is I do a bit of running. So running and music have been helpful in helping me to keep myself in check when it comes to achievements.
Yeah.
Because I think it's so easy to kind of, like say, get really judgmental about always wanting to do better and and achieving a certain time or a certain distance or a certain level of competency. And you're not always gonna do that. So actually going out for a run and saying, okay, if last weekend I went out and I did a 5K in 28 minutes and today it didn't, it was 30, but it's okay, I still went out and I still did it, and I still, that's okay, that's enough. And days when I improve on my time, I'm like, yay! But, it's being realistic that it's not about always doing that. And actually, as long as I don't injure myself in the process, that's the main thing.
Yeah.
So it's kind of coming back to what am I doing this for? But yeah, it helps me relax, like going out for a run or picking up my mandolin or picking up my camera. And I just get out there, fresh air, and I forget about everything else.
Yeah, that's good. What do you like to photograph?
Mostly, I really love industrial sites.
Okay. Yeah, the clean lines and all that kind of stuff.
I just like, I like anything that's unusual. So I do quite a lot of landscapes, but when I say landscapes, like I love finding bridges or like any metal work or, my other half calls it urban decay. So anything that's urban decay, I'm in it.
Yeah, that's really good. And that's important for anyone that's running a business, is to find that thing that can help you to separate yourself from the business, from the day-to-day, and just to reconnect with who you are. That's really important. Natalia, for anyone that wants to get some support from you, like a franchisor or franchisee, anyone that's thinking about it, how do they get in touch with you?
The easiest way is probably on LinkedIn. My contact details are there. So just find me on LinkedIn, Nathalia Shvarts. I'm on Facebook. I've now opened up my Facebook to sort of be public. So those of you who are on Facebook, you can connect with me. Or, if all else fails, BFA website, I'm on there as well.
There you go.
So, there we go.
And what would be the process of you working alongside someone? This is my last question, I promise.
Sorry, say again.
What's the process of someone that starts working with you?
The process?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's simple. I usually, I like to get to know my clients and to understand what their needs are, because everyone is different.
Yeah.
And I think the beauty of sort of, being in business, running my own business, is that I decide how I work. And for me, it's about supporting my clients in the way that they need. So I usually offer, a chat. So I would be very happy to, usually arrange like a video call, so that we can get to know each other and understand sort of what your needs are. And then, if you want to work with me, it's a simple onboarding. The usual anti-money laundering, ID checks, all of that. And then it's whatever you need. Like, I'm quite flexible. So with some of my clients, as a lawyer, I have an hourly rate, so it's all based on time. But I try and find ways that work for my clients. So some clients like to budget, and I offer a retainer service, so you can have, an amount of time reserved every month, and you can sort of, and you then know that every month, you've got a particular budget to spend on legal services, or obviously I do quite a lot of one-off jobs like resales, so I just quote for a job, and it's whatever works with you, with your needs.
Excellent. Natalia, it's so interesting. I literally could, I could ask you so many questions and talk to you for ages. So thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you.